Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here, and here to announce that Hugo Lloris is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, everybody. He is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. I think that is according to Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph. Ali Gold has also picked up on it, everybody. He picked up some sort of ligament kind of injury at the end of the Man City game, I think with some sort of challenge that maybe he received of some kind, and maybe also after sort of the celebrations with Harry Kane, he maybe started to feel that injury a bit more. So he is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, everybody, with injury. And so this kind of sort of quick sort of pre-record, this sort of quick video is going to be about maybe what sort of questions we may have about Forster. Can he be able to fill in for Lloris? And, why maybe you should actually have faith in Forster. And I'm going to explain why. But everybody, if you happen to join these pre-records for myself, do smash that like button. Keep getting your comments in down below on maybe what you think of Forster, whether you have faith in him, and also whether you also have been kind of waiting for this to happen, kind of like myself to a degree, because I've wanted Forster to come into this team. I haven't wanted it to be under these sort of circumstances, of course, but I have wanted this guy to be given more of a crack because simply as I don't think Lloris has been all that convincing this season. But everybody, like I said, get your comments in down below if you disagree with me, agree with me, or just give me your thoughts in general, and I will respond to them as quickly as I can. Hit that like button, please. Let's try to get to 75 likes again, everybody. But yeah, let's get this started. I think we just have to be honest. Lloris has struggled this season, everybody. He has had the most errors leading to goals conceded, and that is including outfield players. That's including midfielders, defenders, whatsoever. He has had, I believe, 4 goals leading to, or 4 errors leading to goals this season, and that is worse than any other keeper, basically worse than any other player in the Premier League at this moment in time, which is one of the stats that would sort of point out that statistically, at least, Lloris has kind of been one of the worst Premier League keepers this season. In the Premier League as well, he has a post-shot expected goal of 25.7 over a period of 21 matches this season, but has in fact conceded 29, which basically means that Lloris has conceded 4 more goals according to XG than actually they had predicted. So basically, when you look at post-shot expected goals, you're kind of just looking at, what is expected to go in, like what sort of, chances and moments, most players usually finish slash usually are, hard for the keeper to be able to save and usually unexpected, to save. But that means that if you have more goals conceded than what they expected you to concede, then you probably have let in some goals that probably they expected you to have saved. So the fact that Hugo Lloris has a post-shot expected goals of 25.7, but has actually conceded 29 is actually one of the worst, I think, post-shot expected goal kind of percentages in the Premier League at this moment. I think he's in the bottom kind of quarter percentile of it. But then as well, it just shows that he hasn't been able to be that sort of world-class shot stopper that we rate him to be, the guy that keeps goals out of the net that most keepers can't. He hasn't done this season. In fact, he's been the opposite. He's let in 4 more than is actually expected of him. He only stops as well 25% of crosses, which is also, again, in the 25th bottom percentile of the Premier League. So if you compare him to all other goalkeepers in the Premier League, he's in the 25th percentile, in the very bottom percentile of keepers that, are challenging crosses, making defensive actions outside of the penalty area, all that sort of stuff. Lloris has never really been a very aggressive sort of keeper either. So that's also another thing that I think has hindered us at times is he's not really the most dominant type presence, as a goalkeeper. He's not really a sweeper keeper either, I think, which also makes it really hard for our, back line to consistently play a high line, because if you are going to play a high line, you need to realize that they are going to maybe try to clip it over the top. They're going to try to play through you. They're going to try to play over the top, and you're going to need somebody that's going to be able to, clean it up and be able to sweep it up. And that often can be a center back, but also needs to be a goalkeeper as well. And Hugo just simply isn't that player anymore. He doesn't have the mobility, doesn't seem to have the confidence or the bravery to be able to step out of his box and be able to clear his lines. But also as well, I just think he's just not really that keeper anymore. Maybe he used to be, but just simply isn't anymore. He's almost too old, really, or really not even athletic enough, I feel like, anymore to be able to cover that sort of ground, to be that kind of extra defender there in case they do want to, get it launched and go over the top and try to bypass that back line in case we do want to play high line. So part of the reason even why Spurs are sometimes sitting so deep, I think, is also because Hugo's not really a keeper that they trust to be able to play a high line with. He's not really been very good with his feet either this season. He's been, in fact, I think, terrible with his distribution. And at some stages, it's often looked quite sad because he's made, I think, fewer passes and as well as actually launched it fewer times than the average Premier League goalkeeper this season, yet his accuracy or his completion percentage is also still one of the lowest. So he's not really passing it nearly as much or getting it launched nearly as much as other keepers, but his percentage for getting it launched and his percentage for completing any of his passes is also still quite low. So he's completing, or he's attempting fewer passes and attempting fewer launches than the average keeper. But yet also with that, you would think then his percentage would be a bit higher because he's right, attempting fewer, but it's still also again very, very low. And this I think has been, a bit of a frustration of mine. I often feel like I see Hugo like when we just need to get it calm, just need to sort of take a chill pill really in a game. He gets it launched for no reason, sends it long to Harry Kane, or really just sends it long to absolutely no one in general when we're already under a bit of pressure, when we just need a little bit of a breather. I've seen him do that a few too many times this season, where when you're asking your captain just to chillax, just to really relax a little, he hasn't been able to do that. He just gets it launched and just sends it long to Harry Kane, where there's no support around him. And it often has showed that think Hugo's head or even just his own composure has been a bit lost this season. He's often more just, I feel like, getting it launched to no one in particular, like I said, or even just hitting it out of play. I mean, let's be honest. How many times have we seen one of our defenders pass it back to Hugo, and really Hugo isn't under very much pressure at all, and he somehow finds a way to mess it up, or somehow finds a way to flap it up, or he's either hitting it out of play, hitting it straight to an opponent, or just simply not looking convincing whatsoever. So that's been another thing as well, is that this season he's not really been much of a sweeper keeper, and he's been quite tragic, I actually think, with the ball at his feet as well, which has been hindering us. It's not only just the fact that he hasn't been able to make big saves this season to be able to keep us in games. He's also hurt us in plenty of occasions with not being able to have good distribution. And some of those times, I think it's actually led to goals conceded. You look at even the game against West Ham, where it had to do with his huge error with the ball at his feet, led to a goal conceded. I don't think he's dominant enough either from set pieces, and he does struggle, I think, to defend crosses or even command his own area. He's never really been the biggest of keepers or the most dominant, like kind of intimidating of keepers either. And I think the older he's gotten, maybe the less athletic he now is and everything, he's just not really been able to command his area in the way that maybe other keepers can. He also just simply hasn't had that world class shot stopping ability he normally does, but also doesn't really have any other skills to make up for it at this moment in time. So whereas before, I think we used to sort of accept maybe some of these things with Hugo. We kind of knew his distribution wasn't all that great. We sort of knew that he wasn't really always, stepping out of his box or being the sweeper keeper that other keepers are. But we relied on him being that world class shot stopper, that world class shot stopping ability, that cat like ability that he normally has. And I just haven't seen it this season. And I think the stats reflect that. Honestly, our own experiences as fans have reflected that. I mean, how many times has he parried it into his own net, or just simply has missed saves that we all know he probably normally would make? And as well, I just feel like that if that world class shot stopping ability is gone from him, you would like him to maybe make up for it in other ways, either with his distribution, with his leadership, with his, commanding of his area, with his, maybe being more of a sweeper keeper. But he hasn't been able to do any of those things either. So simply as I think Hugo has just been absolutely dreadful this season. And I hate to be harsh. I hate to be maybe kind of a bit, I know I'm coming off harsh, I'll be honest, but it's just how I've seen it. And I don't think there's any other way to really look at it, to be honest. I think if anybody disagrees with me, you might be a bit too kind, but feel free to disagree with me in the comments, everybody. Feel free. So with everything that I just said there, I actually think it'll be a challenge for Forster. In fact, it'll be hard for Forster to be worse than Lloris has, because Forster, if you're going to be looking at it, he's going to have to make 4 errors that are leading to goals conceded. He's going to have to be worse with the ball at his feet. He's going to have to make fewer challenges, from crosses. He's going to have to make fewer challenges out of his penalty area. He's basically just going to need to be worse in all of those metrics and all of those kind of moments that we've seen from Lloris this season. He's going to have to basically make huge errors that have led to goals conceded. He's going to have to parry it into his own net. Like Hugo has just been, for me, tragic this season. I hate to say it. He has cost us at least 12 points, I think, in the Premier League this season. I'm going to stand by that. I think those 4 errors leading to goals have hurt us dramatically. And that's not even including the times where he's hurt us with distribution. That's not even including the times where I think he's just simply hasn't saved shots that he should have saved, like the ones that have gone in on his near post one of Odegaard's shots from distance as well that he didn't save. Like a lot of times this season, he also just hasn't been able to even make, I would think, sort of basic saves that a lot of keepers would make in the Premier League. So if I'm talking about Forster here, I don't really even need to rate him very highly. Like I really don't. In fact, what I'm kind of just going about here is, do I think Forster is going to make the same mistakes that Hugo has made this season? I don't think he will. I actually simply don't. I find it actually hard for a Premier League keeper to probably outdo the mistakes and outdo maybe what Lloris has done wrong this season. Lloris has made 4 errors leading to goals. He has one of the worst post-shot expected goal numbers in the Premier League at this moment in time. He's conceded 4 more goals than he should have. I just feel like that will be hard for Forster. I really do. And I feel like it will be hard for him to have worse distribution. It will be hard for him just to be less of a commanding presence. Like, I just think Lloris has just been dreadful this season, I'll be honest. And that's where I just really don't sort of have much of an issue with, Forster coming in, or I don't even really have that much nerves or anything about it. Because for me, simply as I think Hugo Lloris has been basically the worst keeper in the Premier League this season, and it's going to be hard for Fraser Forster to be worse than that. And so that's kind of how I'm sort of looking at it. Hugo's form basically has been so poor that I feel like almost any keeper could realistically come in and play better and cost us fewer points. And that, I do mean, is basically any keeper in the Premier League right now that is a Premier League standard, I feel like could come in and cost us fewer points. That's all it is. It's just points cost and, goals conceded. That's where Hugo's really let us down this season. And I don't think you can look at it any other way. It kind of has to be looked at as sort of black and white scenario where this guy has cost us a lot of points this season, and he hasn't been the reliable shot stopper nor the reliable captain or leader that we usually depend on him being. So like I said, everybody, just to repeat, Hugo is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, but I don't really have too many worries. I'll be honest. Like, I wish him all the best. I want him to come back healthy and fit and strong, and maybe with a new, a new head, a new attitude, a new mentality. But I'll be honest, like, I think he's been really, really poor this season. And I've been asking for Forster to come in. I've actually called for him to step in before, for Hugo, to give Hugo a rest. So I think it's time for me to own up for it. It's time to me to own up to it. I've asked for Forster to come in before. I've asked him to play. And, I got to own up to it here. So here we are, everybody. That's my argument for maybe why Forster, should not really be too much of a worry for everybody, or why you shouldn't be too nervous, with Hugo being out, simply as because I just don't think anybody can be that much worse than what Hugo has been. But if you disagree with me, if you feel like maybe I was being a bit too harsh, a bit over the top, or if you agree with me, feel free to put in your thoughts into the comments down below. Everybody, let's hit that like button on our way out. Like I said before, let's get to 75 likes, please. And like I said, don't, or don't hesitate to disagree, agree, whatever. Just put your thoughts in the chat down below, everybody. But I will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs, and in Conte I trust.